Today we're rewatching Creepshow 2, which is an American comedy horror first released in 1987. It's back as a Blu-ray in 4K ultra high definition. Dan is here. Now, Dan, we were just talking about it before I pressed record. This is a really great movie in your eyes, isn't it? You're very fond of this.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of childhood nostalgia at play here. Because as I explained to you, like this is one of those films that I accidentally ended up seeing, and I must have been about 6 or 7, maybe that. And it's one of those films, because you see it when you're young, your view of it is probably different. And I know that it doesn't review well. Like it's not down in history as like a horror classic, but I bloody love this film. It's got a real special place in my heart. It's a very big part of my early childhood in terms of like getting to know horror movies.
And do you know what? I don't think you're alone, because I think there are a lot of horror fans that really love this film. It's a real favourite, isn't it?
It is. It's funny because I feel like Creepshow 1 is probably better reviewed in terms of critics, but I feel like there's way more like nostalgic like love for Creepshow 2. Creepshow 3 is another thing, which apparently is terrible. I've never seen it. But Creepshow 2 has just got a real, like, it gives me warm, fuzzy feelings in many ways.
So Creepshow 2, there were 3 stories. In the first one, there were 5. I think they had to cut a couple of stories due to budget restraints, I think. I mean, there's a lot of interviews on this package, this new 4K release, which is really interesting to go back into and find out a bit more about the making of the film. And, you know, a lot of the people that are involved in the making of it are really fond of it and fond of the process of making it, although there is one actor in it who did actually have hypothermia in the second story, which we'll come on to. So I mean, he was interviewed. A few of these interviews aren't brand new, but I think they're from like 2016 or something, so they're a few years old. But yeah, he was talking about his bad memories in the sense of his health, but I think he did, you know, like the overall experience.
My impression of the film generally is that it was hit by budget restraints, and that's why it is a little bit cheesy. And you know, there are only 3 stories, but I thought each of the 3 stories I thought was pretty solid. Like I don't know if you've seen the Creepshow Anthology on Shudder. Like the stories aren't always that well formed. Like they have ambiguous endings. You won't always know what's supposed to be going on. Yeah. I thought each 3 of these had a really good rounded off storyline to each of them, and they were all really different like kinds of horror stories.
I think they're pretty basic in terms of the story. I think progressively they get better. I think the first story is the weakest. I'm not saying it's bad. I enjoyed it. Second one is really schlocky and silly, and the third one is the strongest out of the 3. I think it's the longest as well, maybe 40 minutes.
We're talking Old Chief Woodenhead is the first one, and that's you're right. I think it's the weakest one. It's just a very basic like revenge tale. I've always loved The Raft, which is the second one, which is very schlocky, and you know, you've essentially got what looks like a load of bin bags or an oil slick attacking people. But that is the one from childhood that got me. And it probably got me even more because I remember very distinctly when we first watched it, the VHS cut off just before the end of it. And then I think The Hitchhiker, which is the third one, I think it's definitely the most effective for like someone just randomly watching it. I think it's so good.
It's brilliant.
And it's I'm trying to think of the actress's name now, but I think she's so charismatic, and so it's got such a fun script.
So it's a horror anthology. It's not for everybody's taste. So I suppose anthologies, because Paul, who reviews with us sometimes, Paul Joseph, he's not a big fan of anthology films. It's directed by Michael Gornick, and the sequel to Creepshow, obviously, but he was involved in the first one because he was the cinematographer of Creepshow, the first one, and the screenplay was written by George A. Romero, and he worked on the first one as well. But I think he did the screenplay for this, and did he direct the first one?
I think he had an involvement in it. I think like maybe he directed one of the segments. Right. In the first one, there's 5 stories, and I think he directed Father's Day, which is the first segment.
Right. And based on stories by Stephen King.
Yeah, not all of them. I don't know if they're all Stephen King stories.
Because the third film, Creepshow 3, I think it has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was absolutely panned, which I think is hilarious. I mean, not hilarious for the people that made it, but 2006 that came out.
It's eluded me, and I kind of want to see it for like completion reasons. But yeah, there's like no nostalgia for Creepshow 3, and no critics seem to like it.
So let's talk about the stories then. So the first one, Old Chief Woodenhead, small town called Dead River. Ray and Martha Spruce are an elderly couple who are running this cigar store. Old Chief Woodenhead there's a kind of figure outside which comes to life. Sorry if that's a spoiler. I mean, it's quite an old film.
I mean, that's the good thing with anthologies. They're so short, you can't really spoil them. They kind of are what they are. They've only been half an hour.
And I suppose it's all to do with, I mean, in some ways, Tales of the Unexpected was very similar. And, of course, The Twilight Zone. It's that kind of feel, isn't it, where maybe revenge stories or stories where people get their comeuppance or they've done a bad thing and they suffer because of that.
Very basic. And what I love about anthologies is you can just tell I think horror lends itself so well to anthology because there are some really great horror film ideas, and there's films we've probably reviewed before where we're like, the conceit is good, it just doesn't need to be 90 minutes. And I love the fact, like, it's a bit like when Host came out, although that was 50 minutes, it was so perfect for what it delivered and it didn't need to be longer.
Exactly, yeah. I think if it had been longer, it probably would have outstayed its welcome. But I think that was fantastic, that movie. Yeah. I know somebody who was in it, actually.
No way, who do you know?
Weirdly, yeah. Gemma, she's a friend of my friend Sarah. She used to live with her, and we went round to her flat once. And I didn't know her as an actress then, but then I think Host came out like a year after or something. I was like, wow, Gemma's in Host. That's so cool.
Gemma was the kind of the like annoying character, right? Like she was the one that kicked it all off.
I think they're all pretty annoying, weren't they, in that?
Yeah. I love that film. I think it's so good. And I think the short form element, I mean, means you can tell a story like Old Chief Woodenhead and it not overstay its welcome because it's very basic. It's like... Yeah,
and it has a certain charm to it because it's shorter.
Yeah. It's like these people did something terrible to these little, very sweet shopkeepers, paid by quite famous actors, actually. It's Dorothy Lamour and George something. I know that they are old. It was like both of their last film roles, which is very sweet. So, and then this chief does, because they killed the owners, that this Indian comes along and kills them, and that's it. Like, there's no layers, there's no, like, symbolism. It's very, very A plus B.
And I guess in some ways it doesn't have to be because it's quite a short little story. And I suppose it's the same as if you're reading like a really small book, like a short story. It's that it kind of gets to the point and it's quite enjoyable.
Well, and I guess same why these are so good, because they can take a short story by Stephen King and keep it short. I mean, I really hated The Monkey, and that was a film that was stretched from a tiny nothing story into a feature length, which just didn't work for me. Whereas these are just useful for those little Skeleton Crew books that King did, or those little magazine articles that he wrote.
I should say that these 3 stories in Creepshow 2 are sandwiched or packaged up with these little kind of vignettes of that feature a character called the Creep. He's played by Tom Savini, who's a prosthetic makeup artist. He did so many horror films. He's worked on loads. Martin, Day of the Dead, Creepshow, the original Creepshow. He's done loads as a makeup artist, but he's actually featuring as the character.
Right?
Yeah,
and it's weird. He's made up in the film to not look anything like Tom Savini. Like,
no,
you wouldn't even know it was him. So it's a very odd casting choice. First film doesn't do an animated wrap up. This one does. Like, the first one does what I think the second one doesn't do, which is a shame. The first one, which I don't know if you said you haven't seen it.
I don't think so. I mean, I may have done when I was a kid, but I don't.
Yeah, it's fun. It's worth a watch. I mean, throughout each of the stories, it will turn a frame into almost like a cartoon. So it will layer on like cartoonish graphics, which this film doesn't do. Again, I assume for budgetary reasons. So and then they do a whole, again, I assume for cost, the wraparound in the second one is all cartoon. And it's not great. And
there's lots of deleted scenes when they're filming Tom Savini throwing the magazines out, because he's got loads of Creepshow magazines, isn't he, in the back of the truck, and he's throwing them out. There's probably about 20 or 30 that they've included in these special features. So if you like all that kind of stuff, the extras, you never would have seen that originally.
We did I think you put your video on Instagram. We were talking about commentaries and why I don't often watch them. This is the kind of film I will sit and watch 3 commentaries, and I want to know every little detail about how these films are made. I find them fascinating because they were so like intrinsic to my horror knowledge.
Oh, so, wow! Well, you better get your PlayStation to work then, because we should say that you've tried to watch the special features on your PlayStation, and it's computer saying no, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. And I thought, well, I know enough about the films because I'm so mad on it that I should do the review anyway, and then I'll check out.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to you on the extras. But let's talk about The Raft, because this is your favourite. And again, I mean, it's so ridiculous because this is classed as a comedy horror. And I do wonder whether their intention was to make it funny or make it scary. Because, I mean, I must admit, I didn't find any of these stories scary. There are some moments that are unnerving, but I found them very entertaining.
Old Chief Woodenhead, absolutely not. Like, obviously, in 2025, these aren't scary movies.
No.
As a kid, The Raft absolutely terrified me. And I'm like, I would say to my mum, like, could this happen? And it's like, yeah, but not only would it not happen, but it's on water. And I'd be in bed worried about this oil slick thing coming and like, melting me to death. And I distinctly remember it, like being really scared of that film. And I think the third one, we can talk about the third one, but like shortly in more detail, but I think it's got some good jump scares and the imagery, like this hitchhiker like starts to really break down.
Oh my God. Like, it's so relentless as well. He like really takes a pounding, that guy, that hitchhiker guy.
Kind of
we'll come on to that though, because The Raft is, I think, is so brilliantly 80s because, I mean, especially films in the 80s, I mean, there are to a certain extent now with films like It Follows where, you get these sex-obsessed teens that see their end because they're just horny teenagers. Yeah. And you've got 4 college students who in this, go to a desolate lake and, it's very cold. It's in October, I think. And when they were actually shooting it, it was freezing cold, which is why one of the actors had hypothermia because he was obviously stuck in the water. But, like you say, you see this oil slick almost. It's an oil slick that I think they see... Doesn't it kill a duck or something?
Yeah, like they're swimming out to the raft and they see this duck sort of struggling and getting swallowed by it. I like it just because I think it's very original. Like it's not a horror villain that you see often. This like floating mass of like gunk and whatever it is. I think in the book, the actual short story, there's more talk about the fact that it tends to hypnotize people. It has all these colors and it lures people in. You don't get that with this because it's clearly a pile of bin bags. And the effects are pretty rudimentary.
Well, the makeup artists are being interviewed on the special features, and again, they've worked on some great films. I think Evil Dead, they did the Evil Dead, or one of the guys did from the 2, and they've worked together a lot. And I mean, they had a ball. I think they had such a great time because they had their own shed, which I think was a old petrol station or something, and they obviously used that especially for the film. Right. There were restraints and there were tight deadlines, and they had a lot of pressure, I think, but they did love working on this film.
I think that the thing when I was a kid, I remember there were just images in this that are pretty horrific. Like there's Rachel is the first kill. She's the first woman that gets succumbed. There's initially a really good effect of this thing basically just creeping up her arm and onto her neck. And I think it's just really, really well done. I think it looks
They talk
really
about that in the special features because it's like reverse cinematography, and it does look like it's shooting up her arm, doesn't it? I mean, it's really well done.
Really good. Yeah. And then there's a bit where obviously she's been enveloped by this thing. And you see her skull. So it kind of gives you the sense that it does dissolve you. And that as a kid was like, that's horrific to me. Like, because she's shrieking that it hurts and it burns. And
you can kind of imagine that happening. I mean, obviously it wouldn't happen because it's like a moving oil slick. But, to a certain extent, that is quite real and terrifying because you can imagine something in the water. Again, it's like almost like sharks, I guess, or things that will attack you in the water that you don't necessarily see because it's moving. It's like moving slowly around the water, and it's kind of eerie.
And it will be painful. Like that's the thing. I think that scene makes you just realize how. Because I think a lot of horror deaths, like people just die, like you get stabbed and they fall down and that's it. This feels like suffering. Yeah. And there's another bit where this creature is trying to get through the slats and you see it pulsing, like trying to get to people's feet. And like, I don't know, there's like a real like primal horror in that as well about
Did you ever see the end of The Raft then? Because there's a really good shot where the guy's running out of the water and he talks about it in the interview. He says he had to kind of put his foot into the sand to stop him moving closer because he was he was trying to demonstrate with the blob that comes over him. That's a really cool shot. I mean, it's not, you know, it's very practical. It's not, there are no digital effects or anything, because obviously this is late 80s and they wanted it to be quite, like you said, primal, and it to feel like icky, and it comes over him, and it's such a brilliant shot. It's a really memorable shot.
I think it's great. I think there's so much to like about it. And all right, there's a very, very questionable, frankly, sexual assault scene in that film, which as a kid, you don't really think about what it is. But
yeah, like, that's the guy that had hypothermia, I think.
He's messing around with his dead friend's girlfriend while she's asleep. He like basically starts to like take her clothes off and do stuff. And it's, I mean, that aside, I mean, that obviously over the years, that's become less and less acceptable. But I genuinely think I still think it's a really effectively done little sequence. I think the whole thing is really good. And I still remember we got back from I'd been away with my brother to my nan and granddad's for like a summer holiday. And my mum and dad had taped it off the TV. And they were like, we've got the whole thing. You can go and watch the ending. So, God, we must have been like 10, 11.
Yeah.
Like, any kids, right, with our VHS. And like finally getting to see the ending of it. So
was it one of the first horrors that you saw? Because you're a massive horror fan now. You're a fan of the genre. So this was kind of fundamental in your horror upbringing.
Yeah, we must have seen this in the late 80s. It must have been a year or two after it was released in cinemas and was probably on a movie channel somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, it was a big deal at the time.
So the hitchhiker is a woman. She's a businesswoman who is sleeping with a guy who's, well, it's basically her gigolo lover, isn't it? He's because she's married and she's away from home and she's sleeping with this guy, and she's lighting a cigarette, isn't she, in her car on the drive back to home.
That's right.
She doesn't see, because she's fumbling around. I think she drops a cigarette or something. She's fumbling around and she doesn't see the hitchhiker in the road and hits him. I mean, it is hilarious because it's relentless. Like I said earlier, he comes back to haunt her so many times, time after time, and she's trying to get rid of him again each time, and she's trying to kill him off each time.
Yeah, I think by the end of that film, he is like, and he's not in a good way, and he's sort of oddly sympathetic in a way, because like she was in the wrong, I suppose. And it's kind of got a good little, like a little moral, like a moral kind of element to it. That said, I think she's such a like charming character. Like she's quite funny and quite dry. Like, and she gets more and more unhinged as we go. I just love how the actress plays it. I think it's
brilliant. And he's got this line that he repeats over and over. Thanks for the ride, lady. I mean, for Creepshow 2, it's very iconic.
It's great. That story always seems to be the one that people enjoy the most. When I've shown the film to people and said, look, I kind of love this, it's cheesy, they will say like, that one is genuinely a really fun watch, because she's fun, like the villain is good, like it's kind of relentless. And it's the one as well with the obligatory like Stephen King cameo. So he's the truck driver right near the end of it.
That's right, yeah. I have to say the picture quality of this, because it's 4K remaster, I didn't really think it was like amazing quality. It was very grainy, but I guess it comes down to the source material, doesn't it? So you can't polish up, you know.
Well, I don't really know what I don't know what they expect at this point, because it's like, it's a film from the 80s. Like, it's going to look like the 80s unless they've got master prints. Like, it's kind of. But I'll have a look properly when I watch it, just to see what it looks like. But
we shall revisit. We should come back, because I mean, there's so much still to talk about. I mean, I've loved discussing this with you, because I watched with Jeremy and he was like kind of silly. I was like, well, that's the point. It is silly, but
it is, and it's. I mean, I'm raving about it, not because I think it's an amazing film. It's just it's so seminal for my horror education. So I don't expect people to go off and be like, oh my god, this is amazing. But it's really fun. It's like a good Saturday popcorn horror. And
see, this is the thing, because when we're scoring movies, when we're reviewing, you know, giving our final verdicts, sometimes I want to give something a really high score. It's like that recent shark movie, which I know you didn't like, Dangerous Animals.
Oh,
I thought that was really fun. I mean, it had some nasty qualities to it, but I really enjoyed it, and I think we gave it 5 stars, which in hindsight is probably way over what it should have been. But
Yeah.
I think you can with certain films because you can't really compare them to a blockbuster, or you can't really compare them to like an award-winning movie.
I kind of wrestle with this a lot as a reviewer because I think scoring and stuff can get really can get a bit complicated. I like Letterboxd, and I think I don't know if we've spoken about this before, but there's a system where you can add a little love heart to the rating. So there are films where I've been like, look, I know it's a 6 out of 10. Like, I know it's not great, but the love heart is kind of like, it's a 6 in terms of filmmaking and quality, but God, I had a good time with it. And like, I couldn't in good conscience give Creepshow 2 5 stars because it's ridiculous. It's a 6.
Why not? That was going to be my rating. No, I'm kidding.
Best film ever. It's amazing. Like, it's like Rosemary's Baby, The Shining, and Creepshow 2. But that's how I get around it. And it's like, there are just films that I watch that I have such a good time with that I know are not, and then there are films that I'm like, technically it's brilliant. Nosferatu, I think we spoke before, I can't give it much less than a 9, but it's not a film I would say I loved. It was a film that I would watch once and never go back to.
Oh, it's one of my favourites of the year. Loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's hard to get the nuance because it's like, like there are like Bring Her Back. I will never watch that again, and I acknowledge it's a good film, but I didn't enjoy it in the same way that I would enjoy Creepshow 2. I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake of that. That is a classic one for me. That I know that's a 6 out of 10. I know it's pretty crappy, but I really, really enjoyed it and had such fun with it.
So this is going to be fun then to get your verdict for Creepshow 2. I mean, obviously we've got to talk about the remastering and the special features in more detail later. But in terms of the film itself, and I suppose your memories, the nostalgic element of it.
Like,
so what are you going to give it?
I would say, look, I'm going to still say 3 out of 5. Because I know that my nostalgia is not related to the quality, and that's totally fine. Because there's loads of films from childhood that I know aren't brilliant, but I love them anyway.
Yeah. I'm the same, because I think if I'd have given it 4, that would have warranted, like, more viewings. And yes, I probably would watch it with friends just for a giggle. It's not necessarily something that, I would say is one of the best. It's classic,
You've got to watch this. Right, it's like a bit
But I did enjoy it. I thought it was great fun. Really good fun.
Like childhood food, like turkey dinosaurs. I'm not going to give them a 10 out of 10 from a culinary perspective. But I'm like, if you want me to eat turkey dinosaurs, I'm all in. Because they're just pure nostalgia. We can have nuance. It's like things aren't either good or bad. Like things can be bad, but still enjoyable. And things can be good, but things that I will be like, yeah, that's great. I never need to watch that again in my life.
So it comes out 4K UHD on the 29th of September, Creepshow 2. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments. Have you, like Dan, got really good memories of seeing it and being mentally scarred when you were a child? I mean,
oil slick attacking you when you were in bed in a small town in Kent.
I just realised I've got a dog hair on my sweatshirt that's been in shot for the whole of this video. Teddy, it's good to see you, Dan. Check out Nancy Boys. We'll put the links down below, and I'll see you on the next one.
Will do. Thanks for having me.